In life, we all encounter obstacles, and those obstacles come in all different shapes, sizes, and forms. The question is, how do we handle those obstacles? Do we attack them head on, or do we allow them to make us quit? Welcome to the No Quit Living podcast, where we aim to motivate and inspire listeners to never give up on themselves, their dreams, or their goals. We will interview successful people from all walks of life as they share their no-quit stories when they had the choice to give up or give in, but they didn't. We thank you for listening, and we hope to be that jolt of positivity as you go for your greatness. Welcome to episode number 190 of the No Quit Living podcast. I'm your host, Christopher J. Worth, and today's theme of the day is failing forward. Our quote of the day comes to us from the incredible Zig Ziglar. Failure is an event, not a person. Today's episode is sponsored by the good people over at West Fair Communications, who publish the Westchester County Business Journal and the Fairfield County Business Journal. These newspapers do a wonderful job in covering all aspects of the business world within two of the most influential markets in the New York metropolitan area. You can also take advantage of their daily news feeds, which keep track on the companies and thought leaders in these important regions. For more information, take a look at www.westfaironline.com. Trust me, once you start reading, you won't quit. It is an honor to bring you today's episode. Over the past almost 2 years now, we have often discussed the role that failure plays in life and how some of the most successful people from all walks of life actually fail so much more often than everyone else. So many of our guests have discussed how they failed multiple times throughout their lives, both personally as well as professionally. But they didn't quit, nor did they allow that failure to define them. So I pose this question to you. When you do fail, do you allow it to define you or refine you? It reminds me of the great Chinese proverb, failure is not falling down, but refusing to get up. Failure is not falling down. We all get knocked down, but the most important part is that we get back up. Getting knocked down, knocked over, or perhaps even pushed down is a way of life. In sports, business, relationships, friendships, and even with family. Of course, some of these missteps are worse than others, and some of them can be heartbreaking. But the main thing to remember is that failing or losing at something doesn't define you unless you let it. As you all know, I'm a big sports enthusiast, and basketball happens to be my favorite sport. Over the past 5 to 10 years, there has been an ongoing generational argument on who the best basketball player of all time is, Michael Jordan or LeBron James. Regardless where you stand in that impossible argument, the reality is that both Michael Jordan and LeBron James have lost many games, championships, missed a ton of shots, and have both been injured and knocked down throughout their careers. What is identical in both of them is their drive to get better, improve, and learn from their losses, defeats, and failures. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day about boxing, and he said something very interesting. He told me that in boxing, just as in life, you don't lose if or when you get knocked down. However, you only lose if you stay down. To quote Vince Lombardi, it's not whether you get knocked down, it's whether you get up. A couple of weeks back, I had the incredible privilege of interviewing the real Rudy Rudiger, as our guest for episode number 180. His story personifies failing forward. Well before he ever had the opportunity to attend Notre Dame and try out for their football team, he was first rejected 3 different times while applying to Notre Dame. And ultimately, it wasn't until the last home game of the season that Rudy was finally able to dress for the first and only time of his collegiate football career. Constantly getting knocked down, constantly being told no. It also took him 10 straight years before he was finally able to make his movie. We have all heard the famous quote by Thomas Edison, where he states, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." I must have seen this quote easily over 100 times throughout my life, and it still stands out to me today just as much as it did the first time I saw it. I did a bit of research on Edison, and I found out that in 84 years that he was alive, he acquired 1,093 patents, either by himself or jointly. And a couple of his most famous inventions were the phonograph, the light bulb, the universal stock ticker, as well as one of the earliest motion picture cameras. Edison is also credited with creating the world's first industrial research laboratory. But what if Edison had stopped and completely given up after his first failed attempt at inventing something? What if he was one and done and decided to give up? What if he gave up after only his second or only his third attempt? The reality is that he didn't give up, and every time that he quote-unquote failed, he learned something, and he was both a better person and inventor for his next attempt. I'm positive that every single person that listens to our No Quit Living podcast at some point has failed at something in life. We all fail. Nobody has ever gone throughout life undefeated at absolutely everything. Perhaps a game, a deal, a sale, a contest, a friendship, relationship, marriage, or even in business. Clearly, some failures are bigger than others, and some have monumental outcomes. But regardless, we can all learn, improve, and build upon these failures. So many of our amazing guests have spoken about how winning, success, and victory all feel good, but you don't learn from them. As I've said in the past, you don't learn as you are being handed that championship trophy. Instead, you learn as you watch the other team win, that other coach make those winning adjustments, and as you make your own mental notes on how you can improve and what you need to do better the next time. As John C. Maxwell says, fail early, fail often, but always fail forward. In conclusion, I hope this episode has made you think a little bit differently on how you look at failure in your own life. Don't ever expect or anticipate failure, but if and when it does come, learn. Failure is definitely not easy or simple, but it is so important for all aspects of life. So as you go for your greatness today, I would like to leave you with one more final quote by Zig Ziglar. If you learn from defeat, you haven't really lost. And lastly, to our listeners, thank you. We truly appreciate your time, and we hope our episodes inspire you to keep on attacking life and never giving up. To quote Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, it's always too early to quit.